Welcome, this is G with All Astrology, and today is December 25th. Happy holidays and a blessed new year. I am going to do a free reading. Just keep your ears open, and I'm going to tell you in a minute how you can go about receiving one of those readings. So tomorrow we're having the new moon, the solar eclipse. There's already a video out about that. I'll include the link below that so that you can understand a little bit more about it. We do go sign by sign and say where it's going to occur and what house in your chart of your life so that you can better understand what's going on and if it's going to affect you and in what way it's going to affect you in your life. Right after the conjunction, right after the new moon, the solar eclipse, we have a conjunction with Mercury, information communication, how we think, how we talk, the galactic center, source information coming in. Now, keep your ears really not open just to your surrounding area and your environment, things that other people say, information that comes to you from other people in your immediate surroundings, because Mercury rules Gemini. And Gemini, the third house, is all about my immediate surroundings. So neighbors, okay, could be siblings, people who are, could be coworkers, could be people that you've somehow partnered up in a way, people that you speak with through the internet, social media, I should say, because that is the third house. It's information coming through in ways in which we communicate. Typically, because it's information coming through, it's beneficial information from source. Now, this can come through a human being. We are all an expression of the divine degrees of these beautiful rays that come through. Our goal is to kind of like just be more aware, to raise our consciousness, to be more outside of ourselves, but to be in tune with these higher frequencies that are available to us. So it's a matter of turning that dial, trying to be open and be receptive in a place of receptivity. When I feel these energies coming through, when I understand them, when I see it here on paper in the astrology, it's like we have an opportunity as individuals to make life better, not just for ourselves, but for those within our lives as well. If we all do that individually, then collectively we make huge impact, not just where we live, but on others, okay? Others who don't live with us, but who we share the planet with and who we engage with in the solar system and in this galaxy. Now that sounds really far out there, but I do believe that there are beings, regardless of shape, color, size, who are alive and who exist, regardless of whether we can see or understand or comprehend what that might look like or what kind of a shape or what that means actually. Doesn't matter. Just accept. Just know you're not the only being and that we need to be able to figure out a way where we can co-relate. I think this is going to be vital for our future. And I think that we have support. It's a matter of, do you want the support? Are you willing to be open? Are you willing to learn how to accept the differences among beings that you live with? If we can finally at least accept the differences within the human race, then there's a really good possibility we can then ascend and begin to accept things of other beings that we first of all had no idea even existed. But we'll never get there and we'll never be able to do that if we can't at least come one-to-one with who we already exist with, if we can't coexist in a peaceful way. Okay, so not sure where the hell that just came from, but it just came through, had no clue. But that's the way it is sometimes. You just got to say what comes through, and that's kind of what I made myself. So there's that. Okay, so let's move on now. We're getting into the reality of the astrology of the moment. So the beautiful moon is on the galactic center right now, folks. And so maybe that's, part of this too. The moon is on the galactic center. She's transiting through Jupiter. She's going to be at 4 degrees Capricorn tomorrow around 6 p.m. That is when we're going to be having our solar eclipse, 4 degrees Capricorn. Okay, so remember, go watch the other video if you haven't watched it. It gives you by sign. Okay, and you could take a look and see where that's going to happen. But for the most part, what I want you to remember is that it's time to set intentions. Now, these intentions we're not going to set until the 28th of December, because then the moon is very comfortable in that sign and it's in a phase of growth. It's becoming bigger. The moon, the visual of the moon is actually expanding. You can see more of the moon. It's growing, it's waxing. And that's the time when you want to plant a seed. That's the time when you want to tell the universe, this is what is important to me. This is what I want, because it's in a state of growth, not in a state of shriveling and shrinking, but growth. And that's how you do it. That's when you plant. With that said, I also then want to mention how you go about and get a free reading here. This, like I said before, is All Astrology, and my name is G. If you are new here, Welcome to this channel. You are right where you belong. This is a place where I try to share whatever knowledge that comes through me, whether it's intuitively, whether it's through my esoteric knowledge, the ancients' wisdom that comes through. You want to get a free reading, okay? The way to go about that is to comment your digits down below. I just need your birth date information. I do not need any other private information about you. I don't need your real name. I don't care what you call yourself. Make up a name. I've got people who are saying, hey, I don't want to put my my information out here. Well, then don't attach it to your real name, folks. If you haven't been on the internet before and you don't understand like how you can utilize that source of energy to your advantage, but you can. I am a very private individual myself, so I totally get it. Then be creative. I've been known to have a few different emails, right? And I'm pretty sure you can do the same. We live in a digital age, people. Just go ahead, comment your birth info down below. We'll start a communication up that way. That said, this is going to be a free reading. Folks that I think should listen in, other than the birth date that I'm about to give out, is Virgos. Virgo Ascendant, Virgo Rising. Now, if you are a Virgo Sun or a Virgo Moon, I want to give you guys a recommendation, and this is for all the videos that we do. Know what your Sun, Moon, and Ascendant sign are. Your Sun sign is your vitality, your strength, your will. Your Moon sign is your emotional security. It's your emotional world. Your Ascendant sign is your physical world, your body. When we give out readings and we're giving dates, it's because we're using your Ascendant, your physical location, your physical body. If you're paying attention to what your Moon sign is, you can very well listen to the reading that matches your Moon sign, and that'll tell you about what's going to happen to you in your inner emotional world. If you listen for your Sun sign, you'll better understand how that's going to affect your will, your desire, your light. The sun is your heart shining through. It is your way in which you express who you are creatively. With that said, I'm going to go ahead and give out a birth date, and I hope you guys understood everything I just said. If not, comment down below and I can further explain and clarify if only birth info is given out. I do not use names ever. This is October 5th, 1967. The birth time is 4:51 a.m. Duluth, Georgia. What I want to first say is this is where your Pluto and Uranus are located. Now, Pluto means your soul. It means a deep, deep, deep part of your being, deeply transformative area of your life. Now, this is all in your first house. So yourself, meaning when you came in, this lifetime was all going to be about going through some transformational stuff on a soul level all the time. Pluto isn't super harsh, but it's powerful. It moves really slow. It's deep. It works at a very hidden level, under the surface, not obvious to people who live in your life necessarily, but things that are probably obvious to you. You also have Uranus. You have your Uranus very close to your Pluto also in your first house. Now, these are in the location of Virgo. Virgo is our work, how we serve, how we work for others. It is also our health. It's our jobs, it's our duties, it is our routines. It's also the house of the crafter, very artsy, crafty, things I can do around, like Martha Stewart. This is totally Martha Stewart energy. You have Uranus there. Uranus is very inventive, so you could be extremely creative, extremely inventive, superbly unique individual. I am bringing all this up because of the fact that for a long time, you've been receiving this sweet, beautiful trine from Pluto, and now Saturn has joined the party, and pretty soon Jupiter is going to join it. And a trine means adds E. So you probably are experiencing a very creative time. The last 2 years, super creative. Now remember, the creative force within us is also the sexual force within us. They are one and the same energy. It's the difference of how we express it. For some people, it's let's go down the hallway, get in the room. For some people, it's let's go in the other room where there's an easel and a paintbrush. It's still a form of expression. Yours would be extremely unique because it's receiving a beautiful trine from Uranus and Pluto simultaneously, which adds to your depth, which adds to your originality. Uranus is all about being the inventor, the originator, and being extremely unique and totally outside of the box. I would imagine during this time in your life, you've been doing some super creative stuff. Now, again, this house, when I talk about creativity, this is the romance house. This is also the house of our children. This is the house of where we are willing to take a risk. This is our house of fun and entertainment. entertainment. I know in another reading we told Virgo Ascendant, Virgo Risings, with this new moon coming up, wish upon a star, truly, ultimately. Wish for something you never would have thought in a million years you ever would have done or could possibly do. And this supports that. As I look at it in your chart specifically, you definitely have support there to do that. So on your new moon coming up on the 28th, the day that we suggest for wishing, and when we say that for wishing, that is for that those wishes come true, that they truly become part of our material, physical, tangible world, something that we can like knock on and be like, oh my gosh, this is what I wanted. It's right here. Like, wow, right? On 10. I suggest, because I see so much grand support from the universe here for you, that you do that. Next thing I'm going to talk about is Jupiter is doing some interesting stuff. Right now, it's not a huge factor, but you're going to be noticing in a matter of like 2 weeks, you're going to be feeling Jupiter in a different way. You're going to be feeling Jupiter like a restriction in your life, a restriction possibly on your physical body, a restriction possibly in your finances and resources, a restriction in shared resources. If you share resources with somebody else, this could be your employer's resources. I'm mentioning this because there's a Jupiter squaring your natal Saturn in your chart. Your natal Saturn is in Aries, and Aries represents our body. Now I know when I have a lot of similar things that you do. When my Aries stuff gets squared up, I usually automatically have headaches and migraines. When my Aries stuff gets bothered, right now it's being also bothered in other ways because Capricorn is squaring Aries. They're both cardinal signs, so cardinal, remember, cardinal and cardinal is a square. Structural issues right now. Also beginning to have headache issues and migraines again. This is a cycle, this is astrology. So this will pass for you, but it also can mean a financial restriction at this time with your own resources and with others. And this isn't going to last for super long, because Jupiter goes pretty quickly actually through this sign. It does retrograde later in the year. Fortunately for you, that's not anywhere near your 8-degree Saturn. It does add stress and tension. And the stress and tension is in your significant one-on-one relationship area, which I know is extremely huge for you because it's in your second house, which is what I value. Compromise, significant one-on-one relationships. This is huge for you. And there is that square coming up. And your sun is also in that placement. So that also means that when that gets squared, it could possibly definitely affect your vitality. Again, this is not a major thing. It is just something that says, stay diligent in self-care is what this means. You stay diligent in self-care and you're going to be fine. You slack off in it, you're going to feel it. Now, as we move along and I go to January 12th, because this is when you're going to really start feeling this Jupiter effect. Jupiter is going to, like I said, square up with your Saturn. But then January 12th also we have a big conjunction. It's 23 degrees of Saturn and Saturn and Pluto in Capricorn. However, this sends a sweet trine to your Uranus and your natal Pluto in your first house, which is magnificent. The only thing it does to other areas in your life is it might add a little bit of tension in significant one-on-one relationships and yourself. So it's in your financial resources and shared resources. I don't see anything major though for you in that area, not at that time. There will be a hiccup that comes later on. Let's go to February for you. When February begins, you're going to feel a tightening up in these relationships. It's going to get past your sun, but it's going to do a tightening up to the degree where it affects you personally. A North Node in Aries, which you have, and you might not know what that is, so I will talk about it in a little bit. And you also have a Chiron in Pisces. Now, both of those you have at very late degrees. And the late degree typically gives the meaning of the higher the degree something is, the more mature that energy is. Now you have a Chiron in Pisces at 26 degrees, my friend. And this is placed in your 7th house, which means you have a huge capacity to sacrifice for others in a significant one-on-one relationship. You are the one that does the sacrificing. You feel as though it's your duty. But the deal with having a Chiron in Pisces means there is some old wound you have, likely a past life wound, where you typically were that one. You know really all too well how to sacrifice, and that's just it. You know too well how to sacrifice. You're the one. Oh, so-and-so, it's a tug of war. Neither of us wants to do it. You bite the bullet and you do it. This is the thing. Now, the transiting Chiron is now in Aries, okay? And being in Aries, it's all about I have to stand up for myself now. I have to not be that one that was always sacrificing. What happens when we have a Chiron in Pisces and we do this sacrificing thing, we are the one who does the sacrificing. We relate and we attach and we become consumed by it in a sense where we become it. And we take it to heart in such a way where we feel that we're the martyr. And it's okay because that's my job. There is this over association. Now, I'm not saying you do it all the time, but there will be moments, there will be times, there will be this capacity to over associate, to be the one who can go without. Having Virgo in your first house already gives you a strong inclination to serve others, how I can serve you, what I can do for you. So with this connection, and with your sun being in your second house, and the importance that you place on being in a significant one-on-one relationship, which would be like married, right? Having really strongly bonded, significant relationships. Extremely important. You value that very much. The thing that happens is that we get lost in those relationships, okay? Now, when you take into the combination of your Chiron and Pisces and your ability to sacrifice, your ability to be the martyr, and the over-association with being a martyr, meaning like there's almost this ego thing that happens because I am the martyr. The thing is, it's never going to be good because when something's in Pisces, Pisces dissolves the ego. Pisces will not allow it to be an ego thing. It says, oh no, that doesn't happen here. If you're going to sacrifice for others, it's a sacrifice that's done and then it's never ever held onto like, hey, but I did this and I did that. I was the one that always bit the bullet. I was the one who always went without. What's happening is there's a big change coming for you, a big change. And that's why I am going to just focus right here on the month of February now for you, for the rest of this, what I have to say in this reading. Because in February, what's going to happen is there is a sense of yourself that has to come through, that has to say, you know what, I really have to somehow measure more carefully and be more diligent in keeping track how much I sacrifice, because there's a piece of me that I've just over-sacrificed. And even though you're great at being and holding on to your uniqueness and being an individual in the way where you like to be independent, there's a strong independent streak inside of you. But then there's this other part that has the great capacity to swing over to the other side and say, okay, I'll do this. You have a North Node in Aries. Now, a North Node in Aries, my friend, means my right to exist. And because it's in the 8th house, it's your right to exist in a very bonded, very closely bonded relationship, and your ability to interdependently exist in a closely bonded relationship. So you have a South Node, but when you have a South Node in Libra, that means that to be in a committed one-on-one relationship is like so natural for you, but so natural for you to the degree where you get lost, where you disappear, and there's a part of you where there's a fire that builds, and almost an anger maybe at times that could build and say, you know what? Why am I always the one that has to do this? Why do I always feel like I end up compromising to do what that person wants to do? And it could be over simple shit. What do you want to eat? Oh, I don't know. I want pizza. And you didn't want pizza, but you both go out and you have pizza, right? Shit like that. But little things build up over time. And that's what this is about. It comes about you stating your terms and saying, you know what? I want to have a nice, healthy relationship. But what I'm here to explain to you is that it has to begin with you. You have to accept things within yourself. And with Virgo stuff, Virgos have such a high bar of what they'll accept and such a high ideal of perfection that they feel that they put on themselves. They'll never match it. They'll never get to it. So the thing is, this is all about self-love, self-work. The more I accept myself, the greater I have self-love for myself. And the more self-love you can show yourself, the more that real love will come back to you. Remember, what we put out, energy is a boomerang. So what you throw out there, what you let the universe, what you send to the universe as your thought, like, wow, I love myself, I accept myself, I embrace all these things about me, even if they all aren't like the things that hit my level, my bar, right? So what? I'm human. I have to be forgiving and accepting of who I am. Once you can completely love all of that, and that includes the things that don't look like you're so strong, where you may be really vulnerable and weak. So what? You're human. We all are. We all have this shit. This is all of us. Once you get that, you will then be able to have a significant bonded one-on-one relationship where you will be loved for who you are right now, as you are right now. Okay, but it's got to begin with you. Okay, you've got to say to yourself, okay, I love who I am. I'm not so bad. And these other things I was thinking of that I have to be, they're like, whoa, You know, they're like so far out there, it's sickening. I'm a human being. I came in this way for a reason. Once you get to that point where you are in love with yourself, where you love yourself so much, the universe just sees and receives your love beams that you're projecting, then the universe sends back to you. And you get that. You get that committed one-on-one relationship where someone truly accepts all the layers of you. And that means all the things that are supposedly flaws. This is what this is about. And this is huge because what's going to be happening come February? March, April, May, all the way to September. There's going to be moments where you're going to be challenged, where your significant one-on-one relationship in terms of things that I value and those things that I value being shared, whoever it is that you've let into that circle and that you share your values with. So that could be, it could be possessions, that could be your like money, literally money, right? It could be property, which would like equate to a marriage. Whatever you're involved in, on whatever level that is, it's going to be challenged. And there's going to be a part of your individuality that's going to be challenged as well. So we're talking about a part of your ego that's challenged. And the whole point of it is to make sure that you are in a relationship that is good for you, that you are in a relationship that embraces you as a unique individual person. A healthy relationship is an interdependent relationship, one where each person is a complete entity all on their own. And then they pair up with another person who is a complete entity all on their own. They each have their own loves, their own joys, their own work, their own trials and tribulations. And at the end of each day, they can come together and share their worlds together, okay? They're interdependent. Separately, they love themselves. They can get by. They're functioning. They are a productive human being. And then they can come back at the end of that day and they share all that they've learned. And then we multiply in that way. Literally, we multiply our knowledge, we multiply our love, we multiply our acceptance. We learn so much more than we could ever learn if we were by ourselves. An Aries North Node person is all about not losing yourself in a relationship. Understanding I am just as important as this other person. And having a Chiron in Pisces, having the ability to constantly sacrifice, having your Sun and Libra in your second house. The second house is what I value. Having that there, meaning I need to be in a committed one-on-one relationship. That's a priority. And my ability to constantly compromise, that's a high value of yours. Your Sun is there, so it literally feeds your life. It feeds your emotional body. It feeds your heart. The problem is that there really is an overabundance of that energy. So in this chart, there is a time of reckoning coming about for you. In the first part of 2020, the first 6 months of 2020, and then going into, like I said, all the way to September, there is this challenge through this time, okay? And it involves Saturn. And Saturn is all about making things tighter and restricting things and adding tension and stress. So the whole point of that is to take care of you, look out for you. Not saying to just walk out of relationships and throw them out. But what I am going to be completely clear with you is that typically relationships that are not healthy end during this kind of stuff. But when they end, it is because they weren't good for you ultimately. What I do want to add one last thing is that if you have found that in your relationships that you have had a hard time, you could have been married one time, you could have been married, more than once. You could have had tons of relationships all throughout your life. The point is that in those relationships, there may have been a part of you, a degree of you that had a very hard time completely releasing and letting go and opening up. And that is because you have Saturn in your 8th house. So what happens is our 8th house is a house of deep bonding, all right? People call it the house of sex, but there is an energetic level to sexual activity. There is an energetic level to our creative body where when we share that with another, all right, we can either let go and open up and receive, or we can't. Because you have Saturn there, Saturn places a restriction on it. And what that means is that the bonding, that deep level of bonding, is delayed. Wherever Saturn is natally in someone's chart, it delays things. It makes you work a very long time before it gives you the rewards. So what I am trying to explain to you here is that this is a process that you have to go through so that this can actually occur. And having the North Node there as well means that, well, this is going to occur whether you like it or not. And I don't mean to chuckle like this is funny, because this shit isn't funny. Normally people are not happy when disruptions come in relationships and when relationships dissolve and fade away. But what it means is there's a promise for a new day. There is a deeply transformational thing going on for you. And this is beautiful because this is what your soul came to do. You have Pluto in the first house. So there's many layers, there's many levels of evolving that you are doing in this lifetime. And having Saturn and Aries, having all this in your 8th house, the house of deep transformations and deep healing, because that's what's going to occur. The year of 2020 is a year of deep healing for you. But remember, my friend, there are many layers to healing, okay? So it's not like, okay, this relationship's going to end and then bam, there's going to be a brand new one and it's going to be perfect for me. I'm not saying that. What I am saying is this is the beginning. And so with that, I'm very happy. This is all in Aries for you. And this is what this house is all about, a new beginning on this next deep layer of living. And not just a living in my physical world, but my soul, my soul's body, my emotional body, all these different layers of who we really are. And so I'm happy, actually. I'm really glad for you because you have a lot of other beautiful support in your chart that will help you through this time. Even though what I just said sounds horrible, you have some other really beautiful, sweet things, like you have a Jupiter matching exactly your North Node, and it's an exact trine, which means you will have some assistance there, some unknown hidden assistance, but it's coming out of Leo, which means your heart energy, which again, you have some sweet support. So this is not the end of the world. I see some beautiful stuff coming, and it does not mean that whatever relationship you're in has to end. It means it will go through a deep transformation. If it doesn't end, it will go through a deep transformation and it will come out being a better relationship for the both of you. All right, I hope this helps. Take care. Bye.